Good morning, Twin Cities. Welcome to your Sunday and welcome to Reckoning with Real Estate, a radio show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. We are going to, Meghan is here with me. She's
Hello.
Also with the Real Estate Collaborative. I'm Paige with the Real Estate Collaborative. And we are going to talk a little bit more about the housing justice work that REC does, the Real Estate Collaborative does, in addition to, being a residential home sales company. And our last episode, we talked a lot about legalized housing. We talked about the reasons that we created this company to do things a little bit differently. We talked about how important home is. And we're going to continue that conversation. We're going to try to get to our 4 nonprofit housing partners that we work with who are doing amazing work throughout the Twin Cities. And we support their efforts financially, but also we show up at events and help in any way we can, as our clients do. A lot of our clients join us at these things. So we're going to get started and talk about, Meghan, I'm going to let you lead it off.
Yeah, well, congratulations to the 3 people who contacted us and received their 3 free legalized housing t-shirts. And if you were one of the folks who weren't the first 3 to reach out, well, you can still reach out to us and we can tell you exactly where to get those shirts. And it's a segue into our first housing partner, which is YIMBY Action. And YIMBY stands for Yes in My Backyard. And they're a national organization. But Paige and I are co-leads of the Twin Cities YIMBY nonprofit group here in the cities. And they have many great housing t-shirts. So again, if you were sad about your shirt,
yep,
they have great ones. My favorite that I like to wear says housing is healthcare.
Yes.
And YIMBY Action is one of our, like Paige said, 4 housing nonprofits. There's so many out there doing great work, and we want to hear from you. Or if you know of another nonprofit that is working towards housing justice for all, please reach out to us. We, again, are at therecolab.com. That is the THE REC Collab, OLLAB.com. So therecolab.com. We want to hear about more, but today we're going to highlight the 4 that we are currently working with.
Yeah. And you did a good job talking about Twin Cities YIMBY. And if you want more information about that organization, there is a website. It's twincitiesyimby.org. And again, YIMBY is Yes in My Backyard. And we get activists together to advocate for more housing in all areas at all price points, because we need to increase the supply of housing so that housing prices moderate and that more future generations will actually be able to afford home ownership. Before the show, we were talking with Brett, our producer, who's awesome and has helped us a ton kind of get this show off the ground. And he had a really good point that, he bought his home in 2019 and housing prices have escalated so fast in the past 6 years in the Twin Cities, primarily because of COVID and when the interest rates dropped to 2 to 3%. And now if he had to rebuy his house again in 2025 today, he probably couldn't afford it. Yep. And I think a lot of people are in that situation, and that's just really kind of sad. And what else?
Yes. And instead of waiting around for interest rates to drop, we need to advocate for more housing. If we can, again, in the last episode, we talked about that the Twin Cities is over 100,000 housing units short. So if we can get more housing built, then that would hopefully bring down the price of a home.
Well, and I think it would, because like we were talking about too, housing is the classic economic supply and demand model. Supply goes up, demand stays the same, pricing comes down.
Yes.
If supply goes down and is really restricted, which is what we've been living through for the past, I would say 10, almost 15 years, and there are a ton of buyers in the market, then housing values go up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the real estate industry, I'm not going to say it wants housing values to go up, because I don't know that it's like people sitting in a room consciously thinking and talking about this kind of thing. But certainly when real estate companies have percentages, and that's how they're paid, percentage of the sales price, they get a lot more money when housing values go up. So I think there is something to be said for kind of the status quo. We were also talking about that the status quo is what we're trying to fight against, but the real estate industry is pretty stuck in their ways. We were also talking about the real estate industry in terms of interest rates, and talking a lot about wanting interest rates to go down so that more buyers can get into the market, so that more sellers will maybe get off the fence and sell their homes, and more realtors can make more money and companies can make more money. And, when interest rates go down, the plus side is more buyers come into the market, but the supply is so restricted that the negative consequence of that, or the unintended consequence of that, I guess you could say, is housing values start going up again.
Yes.
And rising at, unsustainable paces.
Yes. And I bet the listeners can remember during COVID when rates were low at, upper 2%, 3%. And there were so many articles of an open house having a line of people around the corner, and what that does. And it's tricky. It's crazy.
Yeah. And when we have a listing and it's maybe, $300,000-$400,000, so more of a first time home buyer price range, which used to be $100,000-$200,000.
Right.
But and we get like a ton of offers, and we have to say no to most of them, or the seller does, and they can accept one. It's kind of heartbreaking. It doesn't feel good.
No.
At all, to know there's that much demand, that people want homeownership and they just can't get into it because the supply is so restricted. So yeah, that's YIMBY. That's what we do with YIMBY. So we have 3 other nonprofit housing organizations that we work with. Women's Advocates is one, and that is a domestic violence shelter that houses women and their kids, and actually just people and their kids. I think they're kind of opening it up a little bit more to not be so focused on kind of the gender specific female, which is great. They've been doing a lot of good work around that. But yeah, they're located in St. Paul. They have like 2 new buildings that they bought a year or 2 ago that they are turning into more housing for women or people in their families. And it's so needed. They're always full, and it's a solution we need. And maybe if we had more housing to begin with, if people had their basic needs met, maybe we wouldn't need so much of these temporary and short-term shelters for people, which is heartbreaking and needed. And I'm glad that Women's Advocates is there and doing the work, and their staff is super motivated and great. And yeah, they do great work.
Awesome. Yep. So they're our second nonprofit partner. The third is Rondo Community Land Trust.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, Paige and I live in St. Paul, so we love connecting with our community, and so but we also are familiar and have worked with, and clients have worked with community land trusts throughout the cities, like the Isles and everything like that. So
do you want to talk a little bit about what a community land trust is for people that don't know?
Sure. So a community land trust is a nonprofit that actually buys and owns the different homes that are available. And so because of that,
well, they own the land.
Yes. And because of that, as the clients are looking at a home that the community land trust owns, they are able to, the clients have to meet certain financial credentials to look and purchase this home. And it helps folks get into homes that probably otherwise they would not be able to afford in different locations and areas. The community land trust owns the land, and the homeowners own the home. But the cool thing is, for as long as, they want to live there, their families want to live there, when they go to sell that home, it is sold again at a less than market rate, so that it helps another person who otherwise might not have been able to get into a home in that area or of that size or whatever.
Right. So it is, it's a limited equity model.
Yep.
And when you sell it, you get a certain percentage of the equity, and the rest of it goes back to the community land trust, which it's not for everybody, but it creates opportunities for people, like Megan said, who wouldn't otherwise be able to get into home ownership.
Yes.
It creates that possibility, and it creates permanent affordability over time, which of course our housing market, just the open housing market, does not create permanent affordability. It creates something opposite. And then the last one that we work with is Housing in Action. They are located in North Minneapolis. They just are about to celebrate their 30-year anniversary. They've been doing this for a really long time, and they are really focused on housing justice. They're active in legislative spaces, advocating for legislation that's going to create more housing. And they also build housing. They have rental properties. They have housing that they sell to folks, and they are just an awesome organization as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to end with, we're going to end this segment with, I'm going to preview this. Summer Goralik. I found her on LinkedIn. She's not a realtor, but she works in the real estate space, and she wrote this article back in August, When the Path to Home Ownership Slips into the Upside Down. And it's beautifully written. It's very evocative and has lots of good statistics in it, but really paints the picture of the housing crisis that we're in right now. So we will pick this up on the other side. You are listening to Reckoning with Real Estate, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the second segment of Reckoning with Real Estate. I'm Paige, and I'm joined with Megan. We're both from the Real Estate Collaborative. And before the break, I queued up this article by Summer Goralik. And she's on LinkedIn. You can look her up. She is not a realtor, but she's a realtor watchdog, I think is what I'm going to say. She might even be an attorney, but she wrote this really beautiful article about kind of the American dream and how it's slipping away. It's called When the Path to Home Ownership Slips into the Upside Down. I'm just going to read a bit of it, the ending actually. The industry must stop treating high prices as a win and start fighting real affordability. And schools, associations, legislators, communities, and regulatory groups need to step up with earlier financial education. That's super true. The good news is we are not powerless. Change begins with voices, with discussion that sparks advocacy, with advocacy that grows into action. We need to do more than patch holes. We must reimagine the entire plot and rebuild the path to ownership for all. If we do, then generations to come won't be stranded in or strangled by the upside down. That's a Stranger Things reference. I didn't watch it. I don't
Ooh.
get it, but some of you will. A lot of you will probably. They may never know it at all. Instead, let them know only the light, build futures, creating wealth, and living on the right side of the dream, the American one. It's a great article. I would recommend reading it, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about with the housing nonprofits that we work with, and that we're trying to do. We're helping people buy and sell homes, and we're doing the housing justice piece of it that is really, we think, super important, and we wish that more of our industry would do this work with us and join us.
Yes.
And I think we have one correction to make from the previous segment. We misspoke about the Community Land Trust. I'm going to let Megan do that.
Yes, I should have said City of Lakes Community Land Trusts. You get a little nervous doing these radio shows.
Yes, indeed,
so
you do.
Thank you. But shout out to them and all of the community land trusts throughout Minnesota. And we were just chatting on the break. Paige and I have both had clients. We've toured community land trust owned homes and had clients purchase those homes, and they really are beautiful. And the work,
they do a nice job.
Yes. So anyway, that's when the other thing I wanted to mention is if there are any folks out there thinking about selling their home, you can sell your home to a community land trust. And we would encourage you to contact the community land trust in your area to see, what that would mean, because you would be opening your home up to an individual or family who might not otherwise be able to purchase a home in your neighborhood.
Yes. And you do get less than market value usually. So there is some cost there, but I know there have been people who have made that decision. Like, we don't want to sell our house on the open market. We don't need to maximize its value, and we'd rather sell it to a community land trust where we know, like you said, that it's going to somebody that really needs a hand up for home ownership. So kind of Rondo Community Land Trust is kind of the East Metro Community Land Trust, and then City of Lakes that Megan just mentioned. City of Lakes Community Land Trust is the West Metro, and Minnesota has the highest per capita, the highest concentration of community land trusts in the country, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And there are a lot of good people doing good work around that. And it started, I'm not even going to talk about this because I'm going to get it wrong. A community land trust, the first one was in the South. There's a really cool video about it. And it was sharecroppers got together and started this community land trust. And I think it was hard. They had to fight for it, but they made it happen. I should find that video. I'll try to find the video and post it under this episode. I'm going to make making a note to myself to do that. Okay. The CLT video.
Yes, because just going back to the quote that you just wrote, I have had friends talk to me, our kids are middle school age, and they've said, are our kids going to be able to afford a home?
Oh, exactly. Yes.
And I hope so.
Yeah. I was at a community meeting probably a year or two ago in Linden Hills, and there's a group there. I think it's a faith-based organization that is getting people together to advocate for more housing. And there were people that got up, people that were older than us, but had adult children. And one of the reasons they were there was because they knew that their adult children wouldn't even be able to afford. Now, Linden Hills, if you don't know the Twin Cities well, but it's one of the wealthiest areas in Minneapolis, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods. The home prices are really super expensive. But yeah, they were there to say, we need to build more housing in Linden Hills. We need it to be there to be more density, because we want our kids to be able to live here if they choose. So I think a lot of people are joining the housing activism space because of that reason. So it's kind of like everything else. It has to almost become a little personal
Yes. Do you remember we were reading we're in a affordable housing book club.
Yeah.
And I think it was the one with YIMBY Action, which is the other nonprofit that we spoke about before the break. But it said, a movement does not happen until it's felt.
Yeah.
And yes, for parents of kids who can't afford a home. In our first episode, we spoke about the fact that the median home price right now in the Twin Cities is over $400,000. And to think about that for your first time home buyers.
I know. And just 5 years ago, to afford the median valued priced home in the Twin Cities, you had to have a household income of $70,000. And today, 5 years later, just 5 years later, to afford that same home, because prices have gone up so much in that time period, it's $125,000 for household income. So that really puts it in stark
yes
perspective.
Yes. And before the break, also talking about building and getting more homes and YIMBY Action. We, as part of the Twin Cities YIMBY, yes, in my backyard, do advocate for housing of all kinds to be built. But we were mentioning that you and I and so many YIMBYs out there are environmentalists. And clearly we are not talking about sacrificing our green spaces to build everywhere, but in spaces such as Rice Creek Commons in Arden Hills, in a plot of land that has been sitting vacant
for 20 years, 30 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. Yeah.
That could be what would have been 1,960 housing units.
Yeah.
That's what we're advocating for. That would make a big impact, a positive impact on, I think the city of Arden Hills. And again, that almost 2,000 homes for people that can put a dent in just all those buyers out there who cannot find a house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's interesting, though, that the fact that about the community land trusts and that we have so many, and we have also talked about all the nonprofits in Minnesota.
Yes.
And how many we have.
Land of 10,000 nonprofits.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we're focusing on 4, but again, we always want to say, if you know others or if you're part of another housing nonprofit or organization, we would love to hear from you at therecolab.com. And we want to hear more about your work.
Yes.
And the reason we're talking about our 4 housing nonprofits that we support is that is another way that the Real Estate Collaborative is different from other brokerages that Paige and I have both worked at, multiple brokerages, is that we just really do want to take that next step to say, yes, we want to work with our clients, but also we want to engage in our community to advocate for more homes. And housing.
And just to tag on to that, so our main book of business obviously is residential real estate sales, and then the housing justice piece of it. And we never want our clients to feel like they have to talk to us about housing justice or and some people really ask a lot of questions and want to know about it, want to know about how they can get involved. And then other people want the information, but they don't necessarily want to dive deep on it, which is absolutely fine. We are here just to provide the resources if people want to connect in that way, provide the information to educate people. One of my favorite quotes that you'll hear me say over and over again is, you don't know what you don't know. And, we talked about the legalized housing t-shirts and kind of what that means. And I love it when people ask questions about that.
Yes.
And
one another nonprofit, I suppose, that we are have been have gone through the training with is Just Deeds
and mapping
prejudice.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that.
So for sellers out there or buyers or anyone who owns a home, if you look up either one of those. You can find out if there is a restrictive covenant
A racially
Yes.
restrictive covenant
on your home or the home you're going to buy.
Yeah, and just to say a little bit more about that, our association, the National Association of Realtors, back in the 1910s, 1920s, these racially restrictive covenants were put on properties back at that time at the beginning of the 1900s. But the National Association of Realtors helped to draft some of these racially restrictive covenants, which said that nobody could purchase that property, that lot, if they were a certain color, black, brown, yellow, or if they were a certain religion. They were all written somewhat differently, but Mapping Prejudice has gone through Ramsey County, Hennepin County, other counties, and looked at all the records, the abstracts, to find these restrictive covenants. So they have this interactive map on their website. And like Megan said, you can put your address in and it will pop up a map and you can see if your property has a racially restrictive covenant. And we just started doing that for our clients, just so they know. And you can also see how close you are to racially restrictive covenants. Do you want to talk a little bit about Falcon Heights, or the area that your parents live in? Oh, we have to wrap it up.
Oh, man. Next time. But visit their website, because when you see those words written out, it takes
something else.
Yeah. It's pretty sad.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us for this half hour on your Sunday morning. We are Paige and Megan with the Real Estate Collaborative, and you have been listening to Reckoning with Real Estate. We hope we see you next week.